Let me tell you about a young boy who was orphaned after being abandoned by his father at 10, his sick mother passing, and his cousin later committing suicide, which left him poor and alone. To add to these hardships, a devastating hurricane hit his homeland of the Caribbean. A collection was set up to send him to the mainland, and he later rose to the top with the name of Alexander Hamilton. It is very important that you learn about Alexander Hamilton because he is a vital factor in the creation of our country. Alexander Hamilton was a founding father and a war hero, and he made our country what it is today. Today we'll first look at the history of Hamilton's rise to power, and secondly, the importance of how he created our foundation of government, and lastly, how we recognize him today. So let's begin by taking a look at the history of Alexander Hamilton and his rise in the public eye. Alexander Hamilton was a major public figure, but it wasn't without struggles. HistoryCollab.com, edited in March of 2020, states that Hamilton was abandoned by his father in 1766, and his mother passed when both were sick short years later. Heather Thompson, editor of History.com, states that past documents that locals of the Caribbean where they lived found that his writing was too incredible to pass up, so they started a collection and sent him to King's College in New York City, which we know now as Columbia, to further his education. These documents also stated that he defended the First Continental Congress and led an artillery company in the Continental Army. This is said to be where Hamilton caught the eye of the one and only George Washington, who was the most respected leader at the time. Now that we have learned all about Hamilton's past and his rise to success, let's jump into all of the accomplishments he had in history. Hamilton held many titles. He worked hand in hand with famous founding fathers as well. As history extra journalist Cody Coonan states, as Washington's right-hand man, Hamilton led the Battle of Yorktown, which led to the British surrender and the end to the Revolutionary War. According to U.S. State Department Public Domain, on March 4, 2020, Hamilton wrote 51 out of the 85 essays defending the Constitution, which we know today as the Federalist Papers. Finally, as the rise and fall of founding fathers posted on November 2009, Hamilton held the position of the first Secretary of the U.S. Treasury. It was also Hamilton who established our national bank, which we still use today. He was in support of central government, and he thought the point of a strong government would be to make sure the state debt would be consumed. That way the country would flourish, and it did. So, after all of that, let's look at all the accomplishments that this amazing founding father has, and how we honor him today. Alexander Hamilton is recognized in and outside of the classroom. You may recall learning about his disputes with Thomas Jefferson in history class, or his financial system and ways of governing in government. You may have also recognized the Broadway musical Hamilton that displays his biography in R&B song and dance style. Pitchfork's editor-in-chief Brad Kane wrote, Hamilton won 11 awards at the Tony Awards night and was nominated for 16, more than any other production in history. And if this doesn't ring a bell, pull out a $10 bill from your pocket, and that's him right there. Today we looked at the history and rise of Alexander Hamilton, how he impacted the U.S. through all of his accomplishments, and how we recognize him today. Alexander Hamilton is one of our country's greatest founding fathers and war heroes who helped us build the country to what it is today. So after being sent to the mainland, Hamilton managed to lead a battle, defend our Constitution, and put in place our financial system. He went from a poor orphan boy to his face on the $10 bill. All of his accomplishments changed history and our country forever.